Sarah Huckabee Sanders at this point is used to being called a liar. In fact, she's actually done plenty of interviews over the last year or so where sometimes the host will call her out for the lies that she tells. But it doesn't typically happen on Fox News. I mean, that is a friendly audience. They're a captive audience for this administration. So it was exceptionally surprising this past weekend when Sarah Huckabee Sanders went on Fox News talking with host Chris Wallace, where Wallace wasn't going to let her get away with telling a very obvious lie. Take a look.
Special interest aliens are just people who come from countries that have ever produced a terrorist. They're not terrorists themselves, and the State Department says that there is, quote, their words, no credible evidence of any terrorists coming across the border from Mexico.
We know that roughly nearly 4,000 known or suspected terrorists come into our country illegally. And we know that our most vulnerable point of entry is at our southern border.
I know this statistic. I didn't know if you were going to use it, but I studied up on this. Do you know where those 4,000 people come, or where they're captured? Airports.
Not always, but
airports.
Certainly a large number.
The State Department says there hasn't been any terrorists that they found coming across the southern border from Mexico.
It's by air, it's by land, and it's by sea. It's all of the above. But one thing that you're forgetting is that the most vulnerable point of entry that we have into this country is our southern border, and we have to protect it. And the more and more that individuals
they're not coming across the southern border,
control,
Sarah. They're coming and they're being stopped at airports.
They're coming a number of ways. They're certainly, I'm not disagreeing with you that they're coming through airports. I'm saying that they come by air, by land, and by sea. And the more and more that our border becomes vulnerable and the less that we spend time and money protecting it, the more that we're going to have an influx, not just of terrorists, but of human traffickers, drug inflow, and people that are coming here to do American citizens harm.
Okay.
All right, so here's the thing. Wallace is 100% correct. There is no evidence whatsoever to suggest that any of these people down at the southern border are on the terrorist watch list, or that they're wanted by our intelligence agencies, or that they're coming over to the United States to do us some kind of harm. The ones that have been apprehended, as Wallace pointed out, have been apprehended at airports. You know, we can't exactly just build walls around every single thing here in the United States thinking that that is going to keep us safe. They've been apprehended because we've got some pretty decent airport security, and that's what happened. The wall would not have changed that. It wouldn't have changed the entry of most of the illegal immigrants here in the United States, as about 50% of them are just people who overstayed their visas. So I'm really shocked that Chris Wallace was actually willing to call Sarah Huckabee Sanders out for this, as there's too many people on Fox News that totally not only would have let her say this, but they would have piled on. They probably would have said, well, actually, I heard it was more like 6,000. Trying to come through the southern border down there. I heard it was 20,000. Thank you, Sarah, for being such a good voice of reason and truth and honesty here in the United States. Chris Wallace wasn't having it. And that's bad news for Sarah Huckabee Sanders, because when you can't even get away with your lies on Fox News, then you know you are losing the biggest supporters that you have.